reflections on the just concluded Edo State governorship election, plus agenda setting for the incoming governor, incoming administration of Senator Monday Okpebolo, and of course, Right Honorable Dennis Idahosa, the governor-elect and the deputy governor-elect, respectively. We know that, as is always the case, when an election takes place and winners are declared, those who feel aggrieved have a right to contest the declaration and those processes around. But where we are right now is that we have a governor-elect and a deputy governor-elect who will take over at Dennis Osadebe Avenue on the 12th of November, just a few weeks away from today. So we're looking forward to that. With me in the studio to look at these issues and more is the Executive Director, African Network for Environment and Economic Justice, frontline civil society activist who's been there in the fight against corruption, who's been there in the fight against environmental degradation, and so many other fronts. Reverend David Ogolo, thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Well, the election is come and gone, but what are the lessons from the election? Let's take off from there.
First, thank you again, Sonny Duke, for this opportunity to reflect on what has happened in the election. First, key lesson is that election happened and INEC have declared a winner. APC won according to INEC. And in the entire elections, before the election, there were tension, there were potential for violence, but during the election, none of this happened. And that's owing to the fact that there was a massive security across the state. And that, for me, is the key lessons that the anticipated violence was mitigated, and the action taken to prevent possible violence worked out successfully. And to a large extent, no death was recorded. And that, for me, is a huge success. And we need to celebrate that in the election that has happened. Then another one is that, to a large extent, we have the observers, which is the traditional theme. And we have the local and the international observer, the development agencies, they all came around. And they've all released their report. And there are some reports that quite clearly provided some substantive recommendations. And some of the key recommendations that is flowing is that the low turnout of the election. That's a very big challenge. Since 2012 till date, the number of people that are casting votes that leads to the winning of who becomes governor is declining. And that's something that, again, what is the lesson from that is that the political parties are not doing their work. The electorates, from 2012 to 2024, the population of Edo State have increased. And the age for voting is about 18 years. And so, which means that the number of people that have now fallen into the bracket to vote has increased dramatically. But what has happened? The number of people that actually cast votes that lead to the winning of the election have decreased. Why the population is increasing, the population that is voting in the governor is decreasing. And that is very abnormal. One would have expected that as the population is increasing from 2012, but look what has happened. The total vote, including all the political parties that contested the election for 2024, that the total vote is not up to 1 million. And that's not very good. So put all the political parties together, PDP, APC, Labour Party, all the entire political party, they couldn't muster up to 1 million voters to cast the vote. And then the total number that lead to the winning of the election is less than 300 in a population of about 4 million people in Edo State. Is that encouraging? So what are the lessons from it? One, the political parties are not doing their work. You know that once election is coming, political parties are relevant. After the election, they go to sleep. If you visit the office of the political party, you know obviously that the political party is actually a kind of a private company for the political elite. It's not really run as a political party. Like a democratic society, political party is like a machine It's like a place for ideological promoting ideology, promoting who are to win government, lobbying. So even if you don't win election, even though you don't win election in a democratic society like in the US, the political parties still have responsibility to continue to represent the issues that they are canvassing. Because obviously if you don't win today, tomorrow you might probably win. That's the whole beauty of democracy. And nobody loses completely, because if your issues are very popular, like a political party, you are canvassing on a particular issue. Even if you didn't even win the government that have won will have no option than to implement such a popular policy. But in this election, we have seen that the voters have reduced dramatically, which shows clearly the political parties are not doing their work. Obviously, we are not surprised, because obviously if you look how the political parties are run and how it's managed by the political elite, you know that the political party are just a private company in the hands of politicians. And because they are not properly run, there's no transparency, there's no accountability in those political parties. And as soon as election is over, then everybody's to his house. And the political parties' offices are completely emptied. And this is what exactly is going to happen, excepting we see changes happen. So that is key lessons that we learn from the election. And then secondly, this idea that the people that are casting vote for the elections are reducing. What could be responsible for that? People no longer trust the system. The trust is declining. People no longer believe that their vote will count. And once people have this kind of understanding, it affects the credibility of the entire process, the integrity of the process. And because people feel that, oh, if I go vote, my vote no will count safe, they don't write the result. All those kind of thought processes affects people's confidence in the system. And so that also affected the issue of trust. And that's why in advanced country, I've mentioned it here a number of times, country like OECD, and this is one of the conferences we are attending in the next few weeks in Italy. And one of the things is about trust and democracy. Because if you don't build trust in the citizen, and you build trust, is for the units of democracy to be functioning properly.
Okay.
And this is where I think the role of INEC as well too need to be also be put in proper perspective. Do people trust INEC? If you look some of the observers' report, one of the key things that some of the observers raised, including us, was the issue for INEC to raise confidence. For example, I was in the collation center, and at the collation center, I was wondering why it takes years before the returning officers will have to turn in their result. What technology could have been done quietly, and this could have created confidence. And so what is the lesson from that is that INEC should rise up to the challenge, because learn from the lessons that the more they use technology, the more they build confidence in the system. Then another lesson is that I don't think that INEC anticipated that rain were going to fall in Edo South. And that affected a number of people who couldn't turn up, because there was rain everywhere. And that affected the whole thing. And so next time when election, particularly these off-cycle elections that comes in the rainy season time, the INEC should plan for it so that they can also have a way to mitigate such, like what they did in the security, which has led to the peaceful environment that we saw during the election process. So put all those in perspective in moving forward. Do we want to continue that people continue not showing interest to cast their vote? No. There is a civic role for civil society, for political party, and then for traditional ruler, and for even the churches. The reason why we have to show interest in who govern us is that if you allow few people alone to be the one deciding who become governor, it all affects all. And the way democracy is practiced in this part of the world, because of the rising challenge of authoritarianism, this situation where people win election and they automatically acquire a lot of power, and then these executive powers are implemented in a way that they don't follow due process because people don't show interest in politics, affects us. Because the power to govern must flow from the people. And for the people to show interest, they must participate in ensuring that they vote. And that's where we must begin to show interest in the political party. Because it's like a house built. If the foundation is not proper, there is no way you have a good house. So the foundation of democracy to function properly in this part of the world and in Edo State is the political parties. And so the political party, if they are not properly run and they are not properly managed and they don't fulfill their objective, for example, raising awareness, mobilizing members, mobilizing, encouraging their members, it will be difficult for us to have an encouraging turnout during the election process. People will think that, oh, election have come and there's no election again. 4 years is just like this. It's very small. So if people want to be successful in 4 years' time, it is not to start the work. It is now. And that's why I always encourage people that, look, if you lose election, it is not the end of world. It's just unfortunately that people see election as means to an end. It is not. If you really are committed in using the platform of election to try to articulate what you can do for the state, if you lose election, it's not a do and die. You must have a primary source of livelihood. But unfortunately, most of our politicians don't have means of livelihood. And because they see government, entering government is an opportunity to service their ambition. And then once they lose it, it becomes end of it all, which is not true. But we encourage people. People should register in this political party. The people that run this political party, they are not going to represent you. You have to be in this power. Like my friend said, look, nobody will represent you. You have to represent yourself. And if government is going to invest in infrastructure, invest in education, invest in health that will reflect and meet the needs of the people, then the people must rise up. And if you look the voting pattern in Edo State today, not one single political party can say they dominate the politics of Edo State. PDP had about 40%, and then APC had about 50-something%. So APC cannot say they control Edo State. No. That's not true. PDP has some percentage that you can actually point to. And if they had anticipated this defeat, if they would have reached out to the opposition party and build an alliance. Okay. And so those are lessons to learn from this process. Okay. So they should not see it as the end of it all. What they need to do is to go back. What they did that didn't go right? What was their strategy that didn't work very well? Was there any strategy? One thing you can easily pick is to go back to do a survey. Why did we get it wrong? Because if you don't learn from your mistake, you cannot improve.
Someone will say these reflections are perhaps meant for an ideal situation where everything just flows organically. The institutions that are supposed to midwife these processes, they are true to themselves and they are true to the system. They allow the will of the people to run smoothly. So even where that doesn't happen, even if you do a retrospection of what happened, you're trying to right those wrongs, even if you right those wrongs, and the institutions are jaundiced, the institutions, they are compromised, institutions, they are biased, it becomes a challenge for you to right those wrongs. What do you make of that?
I completely agree with you. I completely agree with you. Right? Just to give you some statistics, from 2012 in Edo State, no political party, PDP, APC, once they lose election, they discredit the outcome. Since 2012. Go and check. The data are there. The informations are there. And it's not just Nigeria that this is happening. Even in America, Donald Trump, you know, he has not even, election has not been conducted in the US. He wants to discredit the outcome of the elections. And that is not very good. That's not very good. Okay. So the lesson is that, and that's why we are encouraging politicians, that, for example, in Edo State, what are the lessons from it? You know, PDP have lost this election, according to INEC. What lessons? I can see now PDP is saying election was not transparent. I can see PDP is saying INEC did not conduct the election very well. But if you go back again, and it has nothing to do with, I just as an independent analyst, looking into political party, They are all the same. If you go back, I've been in Edo State. I was born here. I can tell you exactly what has happened. When it suits them, they accept the result. When it doesn't suit them, they discredit the outcome. For example, a local government election was conducted in Edo State. I have an opportunity to see what happened in that local government election. That local government election, you cannot subject it to any lens of democratic processes. The way the local government election was conducted in Edo State, the PDP had 18/18. No sane society that will ever happen. And you can see this election now. PDP had 40-something% and APC had 50-something%. No matter you want to say it, which means this political party, they are balanced in power. They have some followers. Okay. So why will you not conduct local government election and you have 18/18? So the processes that PDP used in that election, the others are learning. Like the Benin will say,
interpret.
You see, you understand what I'm saying now? Yeah. So these politicians, some of these politicians, they operate with the same lens. They operate with the same tools. And so it is only when it suits them, they accept it. So what happened in local government election? APC did not accept the result. Go and read the press release. Go and read the response of APC when local government election was conducted in Edo State. All the language and the words that PDP is currently using today to describe the outcome of the state election was what APC used. So you can see that
so it's an interplay of federal might and state might.
Exactly. Okay. You use state might, I use federal might. And so who is a victim of all this? The common people.
Unfortunately.
We, the civil society. We are the common people. This elite, they are friends. They do deeds together. And it's not helpful in the long run. I tell you, and I give you an example. You know, as civil society, I have been working, campaigning for transparency, accountability, independent, democratic value, because I feel that when there is a democratic value, I don't need to steal money to keep in the bank for my children. If my children follow the process of the country, they become great. But if a society is run in a corrupt way, you want to steal to keep for your children. But unfortunately, it doesn't work. And that's why today, I tell people, and I use it to preach in the church a lot, that you see a man, he built a house with 30 million or 100 million, but the road that passed the house is a bad road. Did you see it? Because most of these houses you see around, built with 200 million, 400 million, are from stolen money. And most of those houses is as a result of contract that was not implemented. And you can see that in the long run, you are a victim of the decision. Then your children might probably be taken to the hospital. And because there's no infrastructure in the hospital, either your relation or your brother or your sister will die. And we have seen in Benin, we have seen in Edo State, where a prominent chairman of a local of a state party and the child died on an accident road because of bad road. That is Abuja, Ekpoma Road, to Uromi, to Auchi. You remember? Yeah. You remember? So, what we are trying to tell the politicians, from APC, from PDP, from LP, let's run this country very well. Let there be transparency. Let there be accountability. Let the rule of law be clear. For example, the appointment of judges. Do you know the processes of appointment of judges in Nigeria? Do you know the processes of getting somebody to be appointed as judge? And you know a country where the processes to appoint judges is not transparent and accountable, there will be no justice. And when there is no justice in a country, you cannot talk about democratic values. And who is not involved? Who are not involved? PDP government is involved. APC government is involved. If we are to trust any political party, or we are to trust any political institution, for example, PDP have some states that they manage in this country. One would have said that, oh, all these PDP-run states, when they conduct local government election, they conduct it very well.
That becomes a model.
It becomes a model. It becomes an island of integrity. But look all the local government Under PDP-run state, is it different from APC-run state? It's not different. And come back to Edo State here. Under the leadership of the governor, he managed a local government election. He had 18 over 18. How can that be possible? Are you saying there's no existence of political party like APC? Go to other PDP-run states in Nigeria. Are they doing what that will help us? But how do we learn lesson from it? And that's why we as civil society is saying, and we are appealing to the opposition party, that is not the end of it all. We can work together. We can build coalition for values that we are all believing. Okay. For example, we've been campaigning in Edo State that there should be open government partnership, OGP. Under the OGP framework and partnership, there's a commitment to access to information. There's a commitment to put in place legal framework that will help the procurement system to be transparent. Okay. So that when government contract is given out, whether you are PDP, whether you are APC, it doesn't matter.
But whether you have the capacity.
Capacity to deliver. But was all this implemented in the last 8 years in Edo State? They were not implemented.
Okay. Let's take this conversation a bit further. In the next few weeks, preparations will be in top gear to swear in the new government of Senator Monday Ugbewe, who is currently the governor-elect, and then, of course, his deputy, Dennis Idahosa. What are your thoughts on setting the agenda for them? Because that's very, very key. I know part of the discussion we'll be having is in that direction already, yeah. So
first, I want to first congratulate Mondukweolo and his deputy, Dennis, Honorable Dennis, for their victory according to INEC. No, it has to be qualified so that it doesn't look as if I'm not a member of APC and I'm an independent civil society activist who is concerned about democracy, good governance, and transparency and accountability. I want them to learn from this that those who helped you to campaign to win election, they are different people. But the people that will help you to deliver, they are different people. But what you need to do, which you also learn from the past government, is that those who assisted you to win the election, everybody has got a role to play. But when it comes to governance, you need competence. And you can draw this competence from across the political line. And the governor-elect must know that his political party did not win the election and win the entire Edo State. And it's not just the governor of APC, it's the governor-elect for Edo State. APC, PDP, Labour Party, all political party is now the governor of Edo State. So when he's drawing his people to help deliver on the goods, I know those who helped him to campaign to win election will begin to choose and pick. Oh, this man did not join us when we were campaigning. This man did not do this. The governor should know that at the end of 4 years, his name will be the one that will be mentioned. Did he deliver what he promised Edo people? So to be able to deliver, he needs competent people. He needs people who has the capacity. And these people who have the capacity and the skill can come from PDP. They can come from Labour Party. They can come from across the political institutions. He should not allow to be deceived and believe that it is only his political party, because APC did not win the entire vote of Edo State. APC only won 50%. And the other political party, PDP, won up to about 40-something%, which means that in a decent democratic society, PDP cannot just be ruled out. They represent substantial part of the population. And so when you are trying to govern such a state, you don't just govern with APC members alone. You have to reach out to competent, reasonable, and competent people from across the state. And then you become the governor. But if you choose to draw those who will govern 100% from APC, then you become the governor of APC. But if you want to be the governor of Edo State, you must reach out
How workable is this?
It's very possible.
Considering
It's just for
the kind of system that we run.
Yes, it's just for the governor to say, this is who I am. This is my agenda.
They perhaps would describe him as carrying out anti-party activities.
No. Oh, it just, and I'm very happy that some of the, because we know the people that are behind the governor. They are very reasonable people. They are competent people. They are people who knows that 4 years will come and there will be another time to show whether they succeeded or not. There are those who, and then expectation. You know, there are two type of people that expectations around the governor. There are those who define their expectation that to see that the governor is successful is the number of contracts they get. And is the number of political appointments they get. But there are others who are just saying that I just want this governor to succeed. Because when the governor succeeds, what does it mean? It increases the portfolio and opportunity for APC to win the election again. Because, you know, it's not always very constant to rely on federal minds. It's not always constant because the variables changes. You might today, it might swing to your side, tomorrow it might not be on your side. Power is not permanent. Power is transient. Your variables to win election today might be very good for you, but in future it might not. Today, seeing what is happening in the country today, as a growing up young child, you used to know what they call the Kaduna mafias. When some few northerners dominate governance in Nigeria. But today, who remembers the Kaduna's mafia? We will say the president today is run by Tinubu, President Tinubu. And you can see that every load leads to Tinubu's doorstep. But it will not be permanent. Yeah. Tinubu will come and go. Nigeria will remain. Yeah. The Babangidas, they have come and go. Nigeria will remain. Buhari have come and go. Nigeria will remain. In Edo State, Obasika have come and go. Oshobale has come and go. Omendope will also come and go. But what will you be remembered for?
That's the key lesson.
And that's why I'm so happy. I want to use this opportunity to commend the Oba of Benin. You know, when you listen to him, every time he talks to politicians, they are words of wisdom. May God continue to bless the Oba. May God continue to give him wisdom, with which he used in talking to politicians. The Oba is I don't know how to describe him. I don't have a word to describe the Oba. Every time I listen to his word, as a pastor in the church, I listen to the Oba every time. I say, God speaks through this man. But politician, you know what power can do to you. That's why, just coming from Switzerland recently, the first thing I did when I picked up a book titled The Revenge of a Power, written by a famous writer, Moses Naim. You know, this book talks about the revenge of a power. You know, people don't know that power is decaying. It's easy to access power, but it's easy to lose it. And what makes you to retain power is not by army, it's not by military, it's not by Agberus, it's your honesty, your transparency, your accountability. So what has happened in Edo State is that the private sector-led ideological framework has failed. That's the truth. You know, our governor, and I will tell him anytime, any day, when private sector people think that they can run government on a private sector agenda without recognizing the role of civil society. Because for 8 years in Edo State, for 7 years, going to 8 years now, there was no room to engage the civil society. If you recall, in 2012, during Adam Oshomole's time, a special position was given to civil society for engagement. Because you cannot rule out the role of civil society. Because when it comes to protecting, advocating for transparency and accountability, for stopping poor corruption, for making sure that things are done properly, civil society played the role. And so, if governance will be improved, whoever that is a governor must recognize the role of civil society. But my friend, Governor Obaseki, never recognized the role of civil society. And I'm sure that he has seen the value now, after this election. He has seen that civil society can play a role. The private sector cannot even do it.
But there were a lot of civil society activists who got
yes.
engaged in one way or the other.
There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong.
Isn't that
Yes.
an allocation of slots to
No,
civil
no, no,
society?
no, no.
Isn't that
I'm
some
talking
sort
about
of participation of civil society in
I'm
government?
talking about engagement. What Adams did when he was a governor of Edo State is that he gave room to engage the trade union and the civil society. And they were allowed to nominate. And that's what the governance of collaboration, governance of participation. It's not governance of you co-opt individual. Individual does not represent civil society. In civil society, Edo State is the most organized in terms of civil society engagement of governance.
Okay.
But if you become a governor of Edo State and you decide to keep the civil society aside, you pay the consequence. There is a consequence. There is a consequence.
Okay. Tomorrow, Nigeria will be 64. Yes. What are your thoughts as we conclude this conversation?
Well, first is to appeal to President Tinubu. Like I said, they were Kaduna Mafia. They've all come and gone. I think that Tinubu should see the opportunity as a president of Nigeria, that what will he be remembered for? Because we are gradually moving towards one-party system in Nigeria. Because this so-called federal mind, it will turn against us in future. Because power cannot remain in the South forever.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So whatever any precedent that Tinubu and his party set today, it will be used against us in future.
Okay. Reverend Dugogolo, thank you so much for your time with us today. It's always a delight to have you here to share some thought with us on key national issues.